Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're going to open up a toolkit, but this isn't for fixing a leaky faucet. This one's for tackling those super annoying problems at work. You know the ones, they just keep coming back no matter what you do. We're talking about the 7 basic quality tools, a really simple but incredibly powerful set of methods that can help you figure out and solve pretty much any problem. So let's dive in. I mean, we've all been there, right? You fix an issue, you think, great, that's done, and then a week later, it's back. It's so frustrating, it's costly, and it feels like you're just spinning your wheels. But what if the reason isn't the problem itself, but the way we're trying to solve it? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple, and it's been around for decades. It's a set of 7 basic tools that came out of a revolution that totally changed manufacturing by basically putting the power to solve problems in everyone's hands. And look, this was about way more than just making a few charts. It was a total shift in thinking. The big idea? The people who actually do the work are the ones who know best how to fix it. They just need the right tools for the job. So the story really kicks off in post-war Japan, during this huge period of industrial rebuilding. Then, in 1968, this quality pioneer named Karu Ishikawa packaged these 7 simple tools together. And his big aha moment was realizing you shouldn't have to be some stats genius to make things better. Now, these tools are literally the foundation of big-time improvement methods like Lean and Six Sigma. And that's really the heart of it: simple, visual, and accessible. The whole point was empowerment. The goal was to give everyone on a team, from the person on the factory floor to the manager in the front office, a shared way of talking about and tackling problems. All right, so what's in this famous toolbox? Let's crack it open and see how these tools really work together. First up, we've got the tool that answers the biggest question of all. Where do we even start? You know, before you can solve anything, you got to figure out which problem is actually worth your time. In just about any situation, a tiny number of causes, what they call the vital few, are responsible for most of the headaches. This first tool helps us hunt them down. This is the Pareto chart, and it's all about that famous 80-20 rule. It's a special bar chart that sorts your problems from biggest to smallest, and it just makes it crystal clear where you should be putting all your effort to get the most bang for your buck. So take a look at this. You might have a bunch of different reasons for defects, but this chart makes it painfully obvious that poor alignment is the big one. It's causing almost all of the issues. The chart is literally shouting at you, hey, forget the other stuff for now, focus right here. Okay, so the Pareto chart told us what the biggest problem is, but it doesn't tell us why it's happening. For that, we grab our next tool, the cause and effect diagram. You might know it as the Fishbone or Ishikawa diagram. This is where we start digging for the real root of the problem. What this diagram does is give your brainstorming some much-needed structure. You put the main problem at the head of the fish, and then your team brainstorms all the possible causes along the bones. You'll often see them broken down into these classic categories, the 6 M's. People, equipment, process, supplies, data, and conditions. This makes sure you think about every possible angle and don't miss anything important. Okay, next up, we've got a pair of tools that are all about getting the facts straight. The check sheet. I mean, it looks almost too simple, right? It's just a smart way to count things as they happen, but it's so powerful because it replaces fuzzy memories and guesswork with cold, hard data. And the flow chart is just as vital. It makes you map out your entire process, step by step. It's amazing how many times just doing that makes everyone go, whoa, I didn't even know we did that. All right, now for the fun part, visualizing the data. Think of a histogram as a picture of your data's personality. Are your numbers all bunched up nicely around the target, or are they all over the map? It instantly shows you how consistent your process is. And the scatter diagram? That's your detective tool. You plot 2 different things on a graph to see if they're connected. Like, does the number of defects go up when the room gets hotter? It's a super simple way to spot a connection that was hiding in plain sight the whole time. And that brings us to our last tool, the control chart. This is basically your process's heartbeat monitor. After you've made an improvement, you use this chart to keep an eye on things over time. It's all about telling the difference between the normal, everyday wobbles in a process and a real red flag that something's gone wrong and needs your attention right away. So there you have it. That's the toolbox. But theory is one thing. Let's see how this stuff actually works in the real world to solve a real problem for a real business. So let's take a look at this automotive supplier in India. They were having a huge problem with defects on parts they were welding. It was costing them a ton of time, a ton of money, and it was making their customers unhappy. They were totally stuck in that frustrating loop we talked about earlier, fixing the same darn problem again and again. So what did they do? How'd they break the cycle? Well, they started with a Pareto chart to find their biggest problem. And boom, there it was. A huge 80% of their defects were coming from just one source: poor alignment. So that became their focus. Then they used a fishbone diagram to ask why, and they found things like worn-out equipment and gaps in training. They used a flowchart to redesign their whole process. And finally, they put a control chart in place to act as a watchdog to make sure their fix actually stuck. So, what was the result of all this? By using these simple visual tools one after the other, they saw a 65% drop in their defect rate. I mean, that is a huge, huge win. And it didn't come from some fancy, expensive new machine, but from a smart, structured way of looking at the problem. And this really brings us right back to where we started. This whole approach isn't just for car parts or big factories. This is a mindset, a toolkit that anyone can use to make things better. Just stop and think about that for a second. The guy who popularized these tools believed that almost any problem you're dealing with, like 90 to 95% of them, can be solved with this basic kit. The point is, you don't need to be a Six Sigma black belt to start making a real impact. So let's just quickly recap what this toolkit really gives you. It's a way to collect and organize actual data, to get past the symptoms and find the real root causes, to focus your efforts where they matter most. It lets you make decisions based on facts, not just feelings. And crucially, it helps you make sure your improvements actually last. And really, that's the most important thing to remember. This isn't some secret handshake for a bunch of experts. This is a democratic toolkit. It's built for you, for me, for everyone on a team so we can all see a problem, understand it, and actually help solve it for good. So, as we finish up here, I want to leave you with a question. Think about your own work or your team. Think about that one thing that's always a pain, that reoccurring frustration. Now that you've got the toolkit, what problem are you going to solve first? All right, that's our look at the 7 basic quality tools. Thanks for tuning in. Now go make something better.